Bom dia, Portugal. The Portugal Citizenship Dream is far from dead. There has been a lot going on this past year regarding the visas, NHR, and more. Some sentiment has been built that perhaps it's time to leave Portugal behind and look for other options. Yet, that's not true. Today, we are joined by Sandra from SJF, whose information is in the description. She will be guiding us through a plethora of options regarding visas. This includes the very real golden visa option that would allow you a Portuguese citizenship without having to live in Portugal or becoming a tax resident. We have made the move to Portugal, traveling Europe, and experiencing things we never thought we would. We want to show all of you that you can make your dream lifestyle too. Let's take some time today to learn from Sandra about the little-known HQA visa, about paths to citizenship, and about what makes Portugal an option for you. It'll be fun. Vai ser divertido.
Bom dia.
Bom dia.
It's nice to be here today. To everyone on the channel, we haven't spoken with Sandra since last fall, and there's been some changes in the visas and some discussion that we'd like to go through today. But first, Sandra, I'd love for you to tell everyone who you are, what you do, and your credentials.
Oh, thank you, Leslie, again for inviting me or the team, SJF team, to join you. So I'm a lawyer and attorney. I've been an attorney for 34 years, and I've been practicing immigration and specialized in immigration since 2013. So as an attorney, I'm a head of a department, of a legal department. We are 15, and we are working with the different visas in Portugal, from golden visa to D7, D8, D2, all the other resident permits. I'm also head on this consultancy on immigration, and the reason why is to try to do what I'm doing today. And be able to talk to people, to go further down the line, not waiting for the people to come to the legal practice after a lot of decisions they need to know, and many times they're not very well guided. They need guidance in order to apply for the correct visa for that specific family. There's always tailor-made solutions.
There's been some updates, new updates in the citizenship laws. Can you speak to that, give a little background so that people understand?
We are so happy with this very recent change because it was approved back in the 5th January by the Parliament, went to the President to have the final approval. So it took some time. It went to the Constitutional Court, but now finally the Constitutional Court approved the law as it was approved by the Parliament and the President approved. So it's now in place. And what is important on the immigration side is how we count the time in order for the eligibility to apply for citizenship. It used to be from the date of the resident permit. It used to be counting from the resident permit onwards, 5 years until you then get the eligibility to apply for citizenship. The change was very important, mostly for golden visa, I would say, because now the 5 years start counting from the submission date of the application. This is so important for the golden visa. If we know that the citizenship application, which is the ultimate goal of most of our clients, is getting the Portuguese passport. So if they can count from the date of submission, that means they will not waste the 2 years they were waiting. I'm talking about the golden visa now, for the resident permit. In terms of the golden visa, Portugal still is definitely one of the best programs in Europe. I consider it the best when talking about citizenship eligibility. Yeah. And right. So if
a lot of them don't even allow you to go to citizenship. So let's go real quick. There's one that we're hearing a lot about lately. It's not necessarily new. It's just something that we're hearing about, and it's called the HQA VISA Program. We would like to understand what it is, how it works.
HQA is a high quality activity, basically. That's what it means. It exists for a long time in the immigration law. It's one of the routes for immigration, for what we call all the other immigration programs that are not golden visa. There is a list of professions of high quality high-level professions that we have access to. So there are people that if they are within that list of professions, they will be eligible for the what we call the HQA, the HQA visa and the HQA resident permit. If that person is within that list of professions and has the high qualities to perform that profession, which can be based on a degree or previous senior management, for example. The HQA visa itself, meaning if they start the process in their home country, like all the other D visas, we need to prove that they have a working agreement or a promise to work agreement and they have those high qualified, and the working agreement has minimum requirements in terms of salary. Salaries have to be, in general, around 1,500 euros, more or less, at least, in order to be qualified. So it's not only the profession itself, it's also the employment agreement or working agreement has to at least have a certain amount of revenue. But besides that, there's a special part in our law that allows people that come into Portugal without this specific visa, and they just come into Portugal with the Schengen visa or visa exception, like from US, they can apply in Portugal without going back and having to apply outside. If they have in one of these, especially I'm going to talk about 4 different situations, and many times when we talk about HQA, the law is very specific. So it might be one of those professions that are listed, and if they already have either a retainer or a working agreement in Portugal, following the exact same requirements as the visa when they are applying from outside, but they already signed the working agreement and they have that working agreement, they have all the qualifications, or because they were invited by an educational institution and they received an invitation and they have an invitation letter to then to start working with that specific educational institution, or if they are working, especially tech professions, high-tech professions, or they normally are within this range. But if they have a working agreement with a certified company in Portugal, there is a certified company that needs that specific high quality profession, then if they sign a responsibility term, then they can also do the application in Portugal. And finally, if there is a cultural project that is sponsored by the government and that person is needed for that project, it's also another way to get this, what we call in general, high quality visa. So all of them, what is different is that it's possible to apply in Portugal and avoid starting from outside Portugal and the visa application. Either one of these 4 things that I mentioned, basically having an agreement or a retainer and proving that it's like high quality professions. Don't forget, we have this list. It's a huge list. I couldn't mention here all the professions we have to confirm. And then, or an invitation letter from an educational institution, or having this company that is certified and signing the responsibility term, or having out within this entity that is developing a cultural project that is certified by the government.
And they're doing an investment path. That is just an aspect in it inside of the HQA.
Exactly. Inside.
So
it's just an aspect.
Very different for each person as to how that may or may not work. Hence the reason why they really would want to work with someone like your team or a team that has some experience in this.
And I've seen so much going on the internet setting. That's the way for you to not be in Portugal. You don't have to be in Portugal all the time. The law, in terms of immigration law, it's exactly it's the same article for D7, D8, or the HQA is exactly the same. Of course, if someone is teaching in a university, let's say, and also teaching in other universities, and it's teaching in Portugal, but also still teaches in other universities, so it's coming back and forth, that person will have justification for the authorities to easily explain why I'm out when I'm coming in. It's
From that 183 days or 6 months.
Yes,
straight
because
through
the
that
law,
kind of thing.
what the law states for everyone is there is this maximum timeout during the first 2 years period of a resident permit, which is up to 8 months without justification. But if for professional reasons, the applicant or the resident has to be out more time, needs to justify to the authorities. And it's this justification that it's easier for those that proves that in their profession they are still working in other activities outside Portugal. So that's why they justify why they have to go out.
Okay.
It's basically that.
Yeah.
But we can justify with
you
others.
have to have a justified reason. Otherwise, you need to follow the same rules as
It's
all
exactly
of the
the
rest
same.
of them.
Exactly.
So that takes us to, essentially, the one that does have a little bit of a different how many days you have to be in the country or you're allowed out of the country, to the Art and Cultural Heritage Golden Visa. So let's talk about that and why in some cases that may be a very good fit. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I know we will talk later about taxes, but I believe this is the key. So most of the immigration programs, besides the Golden Visa Program, require moving, and unless you have a justification like we were talking about, your primary residency, whoever moves to Portugal following the other immigration program, this is important. It's key. The primary residency has to be in Portugal, and this will necessarily, lead to tax residency, correct?
Right.
It will lead to tax residency necessarily. So until now, we didn't have many worries because we had the NHR regime, which is very good, easy to work with for expats moving to Portugal. Since 2024, we will not have the same regime. So it really will depend of the income stream of it. Again, that's why it's even more important to have consultancy before even deciding which program to go forward with. And that's why, so it needs to be analyze the income stream, seeing what will be the tax impact, after being in Portugal, and deciding whether that would be, the right way to go, or if the applicant prefers not to be tax resident, a solution is to go and use the art golden visa, for example, because it's the one with less investment. And the we call art and cultural heritage golden visa, it also existed in the law for many, many years, but nobody was talking about it. Basically, it's sponsoring, giving donations to our cultural institutions, art institutions. They have to have a public interest. So they need to be certified by the government that they have public interest. There's a few foundations out there, public interest foundations, that are already certified by the government. Each of them has several or one or two projects. Each project has to be approved by the Ministry of Culture in Portugal, and so it's important they are highly scrutinized. They are to get a certification from the government. But as long as they have that, whoever is sponsoring those projects will get a residency for the applicant and for the whole family. And the good part is for adult children, for example.
What is the base investment that they're going to have to make in order to do this particular program?
Well, the base investment is 250,000 euros if the project is located in high density areas, or 200,000 euros, so less 20%, if the project is located in low density areas. The concept of
if I was going to participate in one of these programs, I would essentially work with the team and find a project that I would like to invest in. And from there, I've now I'm working towards a golden visa. And what's the nuance? One, I don't have to be in the country or I can be in the country to start the program, but how long do I have to stay in the country? Can I become a citizen with this program?
Yes, definitely. So the good news are you just need to be in Portugal 14 days in each 2-year period. So it's just holidays. There's no need to move. But even for those who are willing to move and be part in Portugal, they can be, whatever time they want to spend, they can spend without becoming tax residents in Portugal. And this is important.
Unless they so choose.
And yeah, of course, unless they so choose. So if they can choose, they have complete freedom in terms of minimum time stay. I mean, they only have to follow the 14 days in each 2-year period, and so they can be the time they want to be, or structured in a way, whatever the way the family requires. Now, what is very important is that this program leads to citizenship after 5 years, and it counts from the submission date.
Okay.
So
if I become a citizen, I would then, do I have to be a tax resident as well?
No.
Okay.
That's the good part, is that we are not in like US. So you can become a citizen, not necessarily a tax resident. Tax resident is only for those who want to spend more than 183 days and they move the tax residency and they have a primary residency here in Portugal.
Okay. So this is, essentially a true golden visa. It does have a path to citizenship because of the changes in the government from January. It starts essentially as soon as they're submitting their applications. So the whole process is a little more streamlined. It can be as low as 200,000 as an investment, depending on what they choose. So it is a very viable program.
It is, and there are benefits I believe, especially culturally. I know that in US, there's culturally a lot of people sponsoring art. We have so much in art with good projects, and we don't have that much money because in Portugal, we don't have that many people or institutions that sponsoring art. And historical project,
right? The history in Portugal is,
it's wonderful.
It's so long by comparison to, obviously, those of us from the United States. A really old building is 100 years old. And so Portugal, the history of Portugal and the opportunity is quite large.
Can you imagine? There are a lot of projects now coming in to even, to do rehabilitation, renovation of churches, monuments.
Nice.
This is huge for our country and so important for our country, to have these people coming in and sponsoring and having their names,
right, associated, which is
associated.
Nice. Yeah. It's lovely. That's lovely. So we talked about the HQA, which, although it's a very viable and a great option, you do become a tax resident.
Yeah, correct.
So understanding that the only one that you're not going to be required to become a tax resident is one of the golden visas, like the Art and Cultural Heritage Program, to make things clear. The programs that most people use when they come are still the D7s and the D8s.
As we conclude, we wanted to thank Sandra for her time today. Her and her team at SJF have provided their vast wealth of knowledge with us today. Her information is in the description below. Our vendors and affiliate links are how we support this channel. They are located in the description of our videos, as well as on our website and Patreon. We would like to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Your financial support is truly appreciated, allowing us to create new content. We hope you continue to come along with us on our new adventure. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to help us grow. The next stage in your life is a journey.